So President Donald Trump has once again been caught in a little bit of a lie. I know, shocker, right? Now, this time about his finances when he tried to get a loan from Deutsche Bank. Now, let's be honest, this happened before he was president, so probably won't get counted, especially if you have somebody like Obama who only looks forward, not backward, on potential crimes. And, again, this could be bank fraud. Anyway, according to the New York Times, Trump reportedly lied about his net worth and the net worth of his real estate assets in order to secure loans from the German bank. Now, he reportedly claimed that he was worth about $3 billion when the bank found that he was actually worth a total of $788 million. Now, this was 2005, right? And in 2010, a Deutsche Bank team also reportedly concluded that he was likely inflating some of his real estate assets by up to about 70%. Now, this information comes from investigations by two different congressional committees and the New York Attorney General into Trump's financial ties with the bank that is known as the world's laundromat. So, now, before we get to the details, let me just say, told you. I knew it. He's definitely not as wealthy as he claims to be, and I've been saying that for quite some time. Like, no, this guy is not rich. You don't rip people off and go bankrupt 6 times if you are rich. You don't do the things that Donald Trump does if you are extremely wealthy. I mean, come on, man. Again, look at the lying, right? The constant lies, the inflating assets, and also just look at his track record. The constant bumbling when it comes to his businesses. He definitely is not a great businessman. No, he's a terrible businessman. But right now, by the way, he claims to be worth about $4 billion. I can almost guarantee that he ain't anywhere close to that. Now, despite the alleged lying, and this is the crazy part, right? In both instances, the bank who, did the research and found out how much he was worth and how much he inflated his assets still approved him for loans. They knew he was lying and said, I don't care, let's give him money. Let's loan this idiot more money. And of course, unsurprisingly, not shockingly, he lost that money. The New York Times explains. Trump hotels and casino resorts also repeatedly defaulted on hundreds of millions of dollars worth of bonds that the bank sold in 2003. And Trump claimed that he couldn't pay back a loan in 2008 because of the financial crisis, which he likened to an actual natural disaster. Now, the details on those 2003 bonds are fantastic. I will get into that. But what did I say before? Suckers. Hey, Deutsche Bank, you were never going to get your money back, and you guys knew it. And what did I say before? The man is a serial bungler. He can't help himself. And look, by the time that Trump came to Deutsche Bank for loans, I think back in the early or late 90s, he had already gone bankrupt multiple times. They approved him, and they kept loaning him money. And again, going back to the bonds, right? They sold bonds on behalf of Trump properties. Now, the report goes into some of the details. One of them is a 2003 roadshow where Deutsche Bank teams were trying to sell bonds to investors in New York. Let me give you a quote here. The so-called roadshow seemed to go very well. At every stop, Mr. Trump was greeted by large audiences of fund managers, executives, and lower-level employees eager to see the famous mogul. Of course, he was made famous by the book that he did not write, Art of the Deal, and by the mythos surrounding the Trump brand. Now, Trump is only good at one thing in his entire life: marketing. He knows how to market himself, and he knows how to get people to follow him. I don't see how he is appealing, but I guess the fact that he's so openly and always has been so openly gaudy and pushing it in your face that I'm rich, I'm rich, I'm rich. I'm so rich, I'm so wealthy, I'm so successful, that people just were like, nah, I guess he's rich and successful. Nah, I guess he's doing something right. I guess, well, let's follow him. Okay. Now, getting back to this roadshow, right? So now, even though people were excited to see him, people were not excited to loan him money. According to a Deutsche Bank executives, the problem, as they would explain to Mr. Trump, was that few of them were willing to entrust money to him. And why? It's because, well, he keeps losing the money. He's terrible at this. Now, he gave a pep talk to some of these people that he wanted to get money from and sell these bonds to. He said, fellas, I know this isn't the easiest thing you've had to sell, but if you get this done, you'll all be my guests at Mar-a-Lago. So buy my bonds and you can just come to Mar-a-Lago with me. You know what happened? They bought it. The sales team managed to sell hundreds of millions of dollars worth of bonds. Mr. Trump was pleased with the results when a Deutsche Bank executives called him, according to a person who heard the conversation. Now, the executive had to remind him, don't forget what you promised our guys. And that's, of course, for them to come to Mar-a-Lago with Mr. Trump. Now, again, this was after the roadshow was complete, after they got all this money in investments, right? So this guy called him up and said, hey, you got to deliver on your end of the bargain. You're going to bring all these guys to Mar-a-Lago. To which Trump had replied, I don't remember. And also that he doubted the salesman actually expected to be taken to Mar-a-Lago. To which the executive had replied, but that's all they talked about for the past week. He didn't even want to do them. He didn't want to do what he promised that he would do. Take them to Mar-a-Lago. Oh, I don't remember that. Oh, I don't remember saying that. He tried to gaslit his own investors. Oh my God. This guy's the worst. Now, there's more. It turns out that at the end of the day, he had to fly about 15 salesmen to Florida on his Boeing 727, and which is where they spent a weekend golfing with Mr. Trump. Now, a year later, shockingly enough, in 2004, Trump hotels and casino resorts defaulted on those bonds. Deutsche Bank's clients had suffered steep losses. He bungled it again. And the arm of the investment banking division had stopped doing business with Mr. Trump because, of course, he can't help himself. He's an idiot. He is a bungler. He got loan after loan after loan. And the bank literally worked together, hand in hand with him, to sell the bonds. And yet, again, he messed it up. Moron. Idiot. Loser. Which gets to the question of why anybody would ever try to do business with Donald Trump. This loser of losers. This man who was born on third base, handed every single opportunity, and yet, still, for some reason, could not make money. How? He crashed a casino into the ground. So why, Deutsche Bank? Why? Why do you keep loaning him money? I don't know. Now, there's a report that was prepared. And by the way, after all these losses, and I think it was the total number of money, of cash that Deutsche Bank had loaned Trump throughout the years exceeded $2 billion. And so executives at Deutsche Bank are like, now wait a minute, why do we keep giving this loser all this money? Why do we keep loaning this money and then having him lose it and then come back and beg us for more? Look, the rest of Wall Street and the rest of a lot of the banks had learned their lesson already. They got burned by Trump and they're like, okay, we're not going to give to that guy anymore. He's basically been described in this as a pariah on Wall Street. Like, everybody's like, no, this guy loses and he screws up everything that he touches. We are not going to loan him any money. But here's Deutsche Bank, $2 billion later. And then they're finally like, you know what? We're going to have to look into this, right? A report prepared by the board's integrity committee, laughable, right, concluded that executives in the private banking division were so determined to win business from big-name clients that they had ignored Mr. Trump's reputation for demagoguery and defaults, according to a person who read the report. So, the review also found that Deutsche Bank had produced a number of, quote, exposure reports that flagged the growing business with Mr. Trump, but that they had not been adequately reviewed by senior executives. So, what happened here? I mean, look, they did business with Mr. Trump, and to try to get other people on board, this is what they're saying, that they ignored the fact that he's probably the worst businessman that we've ever seen. I'm not buying it. I really don't buy it. Here's what I think. They don't touch Trump because I think he knows something. I think Trump might know something about Deutsche Bank that would be damaging to both of them. Deutsche Bank obviously knows about Trump's finances, and that could be damaging to Trump. But maybe Trump knows illegality, probably because he was involved in said illegality. That is my speculation. And let me be clear on that. And what possible illegal things could Trump have been doing with Deutsche Bank? Well, think about it. They're known as the world's laundromat because so many people launder money through Deutsche Bank. What do you think Donald Trump might have been doing? Laundering money through Deutsche Bank. Whose money? I don't know. Could it be Russian money? I don't know. Maybe. That's why they're so afraid to get, Trump himself is so afraid of people getting into his finances, these congressional investigations, which of course he thinks are all tied up with the Mueller investigation. But in reality, there are many investigations surrounding Donald Trump. So, look, that's what I think. I don't know. But I definitely think it's more than just, oh, no, we want big name clients. And we think Donald Trump will lure big name clients to us. Ridiculous. That cannot be worth losing $2 billion. Maybe the first time it's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see if this works. And then the first couple of times that he loses all of his money and says, I can't pay you back. Sorry, I'm going to have to go bankrupt for the 5th time. Well, then you might think, wait a minute, maybe this is not such a smart investment. I don't know. And now there's one more thing that makes it not worth it for Deutsche Bank and why they've been forthcoming. Look, since Trump became president, there's been a lot of scrutiny on Deutsche Bank and his ties with, and their ties with Donald Trump. And look, we've got investigations into them now, where all this information is coming out, and there will likely be more. And so, unfortunately, hey, for Deutsche Bank, that's kind of what happens when you do business with Donald Trump. He finds some way to wreck it. And that's who Donald Trump is. Serial bungler. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.